Hi, Mike.
What's up?
Yeah.
YASU, right?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, bro.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. So thank you for coming to my
man,
channel.
No worries, no
yeah.
worries.
So, when did you come to Japan?
I came 3 months. I moved to Japan 3 months after the big earthquake. So 2011, right? 2010 was the big earthquake, right?
2011.
Yeah. The big earthquake was 2011, and it was in March, right?
Yeah, March.
So
11,
I came here in June. Yeah, June, July. Yeah, June. Yeah, so almost 10 years now.
Oh, so maybe you got used to living in Japan.
Nah,
No.
of course not. No. Of course not, no. I can do this, which I never did in America. We never sat like this.
I see.
Yeah. No, it's weird. I haven't. So, like, yes and no. So, Japan changed me. I'm a very loud person, as you see. I'm very, like... But when I go back home to America, I'm super quiet. So,
really?
like, yeah. Because what happens is... So, like... When I first came to Japan, I used to scare people. Like, I was like, yo, what's up? Yeah, whatever. And people were like, oh, what's wrong with him? So, like, I kind of, like, toned it down. And then, like, when you're, like, on the train or you're outside or, like, whatever, right? Movie theater, another fucking place that no one talks in the movie theater. Americans are super loud, right? Yeah. Especially I'm Hispanic. So, we're, like, when I talk to my mom, I'm like, Mom... She's like, she's like, Mom, can you please? And she's like, this is the way I talk. Don't tell me. She's always loud. But in America, I'm like, yo, you guys are so loud. Can you just, like, bring it down? Like, why are you so loud? Yeah, so I'm definitely not as loud as I used to be, 100%. Oh. And more quiet and, like, reverse culture shock. So, but in Japan, I'm loud. So, like, I'm in between. Yeah.
I see. And, you lived in New York.
Yeah, I'm from New York, born and raised, uptown Manhattan, Dykeman.
Wow.
200th Street. Nobody knows. Everybody thinks that 168 is stopped. No, it's still another 45 blocks up. Yeah,
I see. Yeah, so. Usually, tourists go to Midtown and downtown.
Yeah. They usually stop like Harlem 125th or whatever, but now it's becoming... that area is becoming like way more popular. So like if you listen to like any rap songs or like stuff, you hear like Dykeman. That's where I'm from, 200th Street, Dykeman.
Dykeman. Yeah, I see.
And now I live in Soka. Everybody's like, why the fuck do you live in Soka? I'm like, I love it here. It's so nice.
Yeah, actually, I'm also curious about why do you live in Soka?
So, like most foreigners here, like I found my job on the internet, and I came to Japan like search on the internet, and there was like this big company, and it was like either like you had Soka, Chiba, or like somewhere else. And at the time I had a Japanese friend. I was like, I didn't know anything about Japan. And I was like, what is the most popular place in Tokyo? They're like Shibuya. And I was like, how far is this place and this place from Shibuya? And they were like, Soka is 55 minutes, but Chiba is 2 hours. I was like, Soka. So, like, when I first came, I used to travel, like, all the time to Shibuya. Like, I would finish work, like, 8, take the train 1 hour, and then stay an hour, and then take the train 1 hour back. Because I thought Soka didn't have anything, but actually Soka had so much stuff, yeah. So that's why.
I see. So you went to Shibuya often before?
Yeah, but I didn't do nothing. It was just like, it's so, like, it's super lively, right? So many people, like... When people think of New York, they're like, oh, there's so many people. But there's nothing compared to Shibuya, right? Shibuya is, like, super fucking crowded. So I like that feeling. Like, because I lived here, right? Like, it's not that many people here. But I like that I can go from crowded place to not crowded place. Yeah, that's cool.
I see. And now, you are teaching English to Japanese
10 years, yeah. This is my school.
Yeah, so how is it? So do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You know, one of the coolest things about teaching Japanese people is I get to talk to a lot of people, and you know what we were talking about before, like Japanese people feel more comfortable talking to to non-Japanese people about life, right? Like when you could be in a room with just Japanese people, it's really quiet, right? But if you throw foreigners in there, right, English speakers. Like Japanese people feel really comfortable, so it's really cool because like I get to meet so many interesting people, and because I'm from New York and I'm very outgoing, I get really lucky meeting people like you, stuff like that. So yeah, man, it's cool. It's cool. It's tough, but it's cool.
Oh, I see. I see. Yeah, actually, this is your school.
Yeah.
It's very good atmosphere.
Thank you. It's gonna change. It's gonna be really cool. Hopefully, in less than 3 months. So it's gonna be dope. It's gonna be really dope. I hope.
So usually you are very busy for teaching.
Yeah. Thank God. Yeah. Recently, things have been really, really good. So like when I worked at an Eikaiwa, I didn't like it because the Eikaiwa was a business, right? It was like come, go, next. It was just a business, and I really didn't like that. And we had a few man-to-man lessons at the time, one-to-one, and I loved those the most. So like when I started my school, I wanted to do as many one-to-one lessons as I could, and then it was like much slower pace. So like it's more like a family, I threw parties, events, and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's totally different than like a normal Eikaiwa.
I see. Yeah, like not only one-on-one, but also such parties.
Yeah. When Corona's not here, yeah, definitely. We throw I throw Thanksgiving parties, Christmas parties, beer pong, picnics. I used to be every month, but I'm busy now, so I can't do it. I'm exhausted. So at least every couple months, yeah, definitely. If not here in a restaurant or something. Like, one of the biggest complaints I had was, you have these students learn, and they learn from you, but when they meet like another English speaker, they're like, I don't know what he's saying, because they're so used to your voice, right? And that's number one. Number two, they don't even have a chance, right? Like a lot of my students will go on vacation like to Hawaii and don't even use the English that they learned, right? So at least this gives them a chance to meet other people, talk, and it's cool. It's good stuff.
So in your class, how to teach English, like a free conversation, or
so what I do is my class is basically an hour usually, and I break up the classes into 10-minute blocks. So the first part is like free talking with a topic. Then the next is like I try to teach. I'm very big on high frequency. High frequency. It's like
more speaking. Or?
No. High frequency is like the most popular words. So like
okay.
If you learn JLPT has like 1,400 kanji that you'll see a lot, right? So what I try to do is I try to teach my students high frequency stuff. So high frequency idioms, high frequency vocabulary, things like that, so that they would use things that they can leave here and not just it's a pen. You know what I'm saying? Even though that's the last part, because for me, the most boring and the most difficult is grammar, right? So the last part is always grammar, but I teach guided free talk as well as high frequency, as well as idioms, also street idioms, which a lot of people don't really do, and like that. So it's scheduled differently, depends on the level of the person. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I see. So it's like a more natural for
yes. So I tell people,
speaker,
So I tell people, if you want to pass a test, go somewhere else, because I don't teach passing a test. That's just passing a test. There's a difference between, for me, communication is key. So there's a difference between communicating and passing a test. You can definitely be like a Aiken 1, right, or like TOEIC, high TOEIC, and not be able to talk. That's like, it's very common here. So I try to teach people communication first, then everything else second, right? Because if you can, if like I was telling one of my students, she was teaching her son, I want to get this or something like that. It was like 5 words, but it wasn't I want. It was like it was just a phrase, and I told her don't do that. She said why? I said if you teach 4 individual words and want. So want toy, want drink, want. That's 5 sentences just with 5 words compared to when you learn a long phrase that you can only use once. So I'm a firm believer in don't worry about grammar, worry about communicating, learn high frequency words. This way you can communicate right off the jump. And of course idioms and stuff like that. But
I see.
And give him the free space to make a mistake. Because I think a lot of people worry so much about making a mistake that they don't communicate, you know?
I see. So it's helpful for conversation.
Yeah,
natural
1000%,
conversation.
yeah. But of course I use a book because you need something to help you, you know, do your thing. Yeah, definitely.
I see. What do you think about the weakness of Japanese people who
I would
want
say
to
communication.
communication?
Yeah, so like very recently I get a lot of like 18-year-olds, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. And where I come from, you know, older people of course are like mendokusai, right? Like they're like udasai and stuff, whatever, but you can still learn a lot from an older person, right? And I feel like the young kids don't communicate with older because there's a senpai kohai, right? The junior and the senior aspect. And I'm older than most of my young students, right, who come here, and they listen to me and they have a lot of very good things to say. And I always tell them, like, you should learn to communicate with your older people because you can learn so much. You know what I'm saying? So I think communication is really difficult in Japan because they care so much about, right, senpai and kohai.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Another thing is, because in Japan, Japanese people are so nice and they want everything so convenient that they make events and parties easy for people to talk to, right? So like if you're in the basketball team, they have like a basketball bonenkai, right? A basketball party. Everybody's just talking about basketball, right?
Yeah.
And most people are the same age, right? But life is not like that. Life is very random. I'm gonna meet you. We have nothing in common. We just happen to be the same age, right? So it's okay. But most of the time, you're gonna meet people who are older or younger than you with nothing related to you. So you have to learn to communicate with those people. You shouldn't worry about age. You shouldn't worry about
class.
Yeah, you shouldn't worry about stuff like that. The only thing I always tell my students is remember, some things are disrespectful. And if you look at somebody and say something and their face, like, what'd you say? Like, oh, I'm sorry, did I say something wrong? And that's a teaching moment or a learning moment for you to learn something. But if you're scared of talking to someone older or you're scared of offending somebody all the time, you're not going to grow, you know? So for me, it's the weakness of Japan is learning to communicate. It doesn't mean that Japanese can't communicate. They can, and they do, but they have to learn different ways to communicate with people that they're not used to communicating with. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Most of Japanese are very shy and they don't know how to communicate strangers so much.
But in America, it's the same thing, bro. Like, a lot of people think, like, you know, there's this misconception about foreigners that we just talk to everybody. You know, in America, it's a huge problem now, too, with young people. They just communicate online, and it's very difficult for them to talk in person, right? Like, I was lucky enough to be born without internet, and then like at 12, 13, 14, we got internet, right? And so I'm moving with the internet, luckily enough, right? But, you know, I think that Westerners as well have the same problem as Japan, right? So it's not like a Japanese thing. I think it's a very international thing. But in Japan, you definitely see, like, you know, I don't really think that Japanese people are shy. I don't really think that's true. I think that they're not used to and they don't have enough practice with free communication with random people, you know? Like if we were talking about before that like in Japan, people always say to me like, what do I say to a foreigner the first time I meet them? I'm like, what do you say to a Japanese person when you meet them? And they're like, I don't know. So I was like, well, if you don't know what to say in Japanese to a Japanese person, why would you know what to say in English? Your brain is translating, right? Most of the time, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't know what to translate, you don't know what to say. So I always tell my students, talk to random Japanese people. Just have a conversation. And if you learn to do that in Japanese, you'll learn to do it in English. It's not an English problem. It's a culture and communication problem. That's what I think.
Japanese people should communicate with other Japanese people randomly.
100%. If you... It's funny because I always tell people like, can you nampa? Can you do nampa? And they're like, no. I was like, guess what? Talking to a foreigner is nampa.
Oh.
It is. It's the same thing. You have to be creative. You have to know what to say. You got to try to make them laugh. You got to try to make it interesting. I think a lot of people have a mistake, like they talk to random people, like, oh, you speak English? Oh, I want to practice my English. Like, no, get away from, I don't know who you are. But if you're interesting, you make a person laugh, like, oh, who are you? But, you know, that's what I think. So I always say, like, it's kind of like nampa a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, in such way, I made some foreign friends.
Yeah, man, you're adventurous, man. And that your English is not perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It's really good. It's good enough, you know? And if you're not scared not to make a mistake, you're never going to try, right? You're going to shoot every shot you don't take, right? You're going to miss every shot that you don't take. So you got to take those shots. Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a good advice.
Yeah, thank you.
Japanese
Appreciate
people.
it.
Yeah, so I recommend your English
Oh,
school.
thank you. Yeah, it's a little busy right now, so. But thank you for having me, man.
Yeah,
it was nice to meet you, brother.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Take it easy, and I hope to talk to you guys soon again.
Yeah. So okay, bye. See you in the next video.
See you guys.